Lincoln County. This is now my ninth trip to Fayetteville the past 6 months. My opponent's been here one time in the past 6 years for a statue rededication. And that pretty much tells you about Scott DesJarlais. He doesn't show up. And the people of this community know it. And people across Tennessee know it. I'm here because I want to bring some good news. Here's the good news. We run on data, we run on facts, we look at the figures, and we can tell you, as of right now, we're winning this election. We are winning this election. We all know that rural Tennessee has trended red for a long time. But I think this, and I know this, when you talk to patriotic Republicans and you actually show them who you are, they give you a shot. They give you a shot. And we've made over 700,000 contacts with Tennessee voters in the past 6 months. To give you a sense, that is the most of any campaign in the entire state of Tennessee. And we're going to hit 1 million contacts by election day. And so here's what we found out. Republicans do not like Scott DesJarlais. In fact, about 1 in 3 Republicans go to the polls every August to vote against him. And what I need from you is to help me get some of them into our polls. We've identified in Lincoln County, we have over 400 supporters who are Republicans, I think, who said they are going to support my campaign. But what we need in these final days is you to find me some more. We live in Tennessee. Most of us might be Democrats, but we know a lot more Republicans than we know Democrats. And what I need your help with in these final days to help me get over the top is to have conversations with two types of folks. Number one, those who will not show up without you talking to them. We all know people in our networks and our communities who a conversation by us alone is going to get them to the polls. Maybe they're Bernie Sanders supporters and they're upset that Bernie's not the nominee and they're skeptical about whether or not to show up. We need to convince them that we've got to win this election before we can make change. So you need to help me get those folks to the polls. But you also know folks who are conservatives, who are patriotic conservatives, and they're going to probably vote for Trump. They're probably going to vote for Trump. But you know what? They're going to vote for one Democrat. They're going to be open to voting for one Democrat. And I need you to be my missionary to these folks. You know, Chase Clemens is running a campaign, Kay Williams has been really good to me, etc. But it's going to be the rank and file folks in this community who get me over the top. We don't have to win Lincoln County to win this election, but we can't lose by 60 points. And that's what's happened to the Democrats over here in the long haul. We've lost by huge margins. And what I need you to do is help me not lose by such a big margin. We need folks to show up and vote for one Democrat, and that's what I'm asking for you. So here's the message that I want to get to these folks. And these are the messages I'm asking you to give Republicans. Scott DesJarlais doesn't fight for you. He doesn't know you. He doesn't know your kids. He doesn't know your joys, your hopes, your sufferings, your anxieties. He doesn't know that Lincoln County football is 8-2. He doesn't know what's going on in our schools. He doesn't know what's going on in our communities because he's completely missing. What happened was after that scandal that consumed the abortion scandal arrest, Congressman DesJarlais made the decision to back off and to hide. And he thinks that Republican voters in this community are dumb. He thinks they're dumb. He thinks they'll simply vote for him because he's Republican. I don't think that. I think the majority of voters want to know their congressman. We took a poll, and Congressman DesJarlais has their 34%. He has a disapproval rating of 41%. And he has 27% of Tennesseans in this district do not know who he is after a decade in office. I am the only candidate in the country who can say this. I, a challenger to a 10-year incumbent, have a higher name ID than the incumbent. More people know who I am than they know who he is. And I want to tell you a quick story that illustrates this. I want to make it clear to you. There's a guy named Jeremy who took one of our Hell Yes signs. Do you all like my signs?
Yes, love the sign.
Excellent. Thank you. Jeremy.
Yes, absolutely. Love the sign.
Our videographers did that more than anything else. Jeremy lives in Spring Hill, where I'll end up my name. You know where Murray County is? Spring Hill's where that GM plant up there. Jerry's a Republican. Okay, he's a hardcore Republican. He's a good man. He's a union
Stop.
worker up there at GM.
Stop.
And he
I
was
know.
coming home from work one day in the summer, and he saw that Hell Yes sign, and he loved it. He looked me up, and he liked what I stood for, liked our policies, and then I had a good smile, and he was in. He was in. And then about 3 weeks later, Jeremy goes to church in Columbia, and he finds out the absolute worst news of the summer. Chris Hale's a Democrat. And so Jeremy was beside himself because he thought, maybe like a lot of folks around here thought, didn't know Democrats actually ran for office. You know, didn't know that Democrats actually had people that ran for office and put signs out and competed. And so this is what happened. Jeremy, 43 years old, lifelong Republican, truly Republican, like didn't vote for Clinton, Republican, like Bill Clinton, Republican, always been a Republican, never voted for Democrat. He asked himself for the first time in his life, who is my congressman? What happens when Republicans Google Scott DesJarlais? Anyone? What do they find? Scandals, mistresses. It's like trailer park trash, like embarrassing stories that hurt Tennessee, right? And they're embarrassing to folks of faith, pro-life folks like Jeremy. Jerry found out this at church. So pro-life, pro-family, proud Christian Jeremy Googled Scott DesJarlais, and for the first time in his life, he is voting for a Democrat. He is voting for Chris Hale. And we need the Jeremys of this community. We need the Jeremys all across the state to give me a shot. So I'm asking you to fight for me in this community in these final days. You have about 3,000 or 4,000 voters that we think have not yet gone to the polls. Let's get some of those folks on our train. I don't have to win Lincoln County to win this election, but we've got to do better than Democrats have done historically here. The final two things I'll ask for you is, number one, we have contributions from all 6,000 contributions from every state in this country. Can you imagine that for a second? Every state in this country, and Puerto Rico, and Washington, D.C., all have invested right here in Fayetteville, right here in this race in Lincoln County, right here. 6,000 people know that Congressman DesJarlais should not be our congressman from all across this country. We just kind of convince our folks in the community that's the truth. But I need still more resources by the end of the day. The average contribution for this campaign is $32 online. Every contribution we get today is matched dollar for dollar. It's not buying me McDonald's. It's not feeding me. It's feeding this movement. We have organizers across this state. We have volunteers across this state. We are running the strongest grassroots campaign in Tennessee's history, but we need to fuel it. So first thing I'm going to ask is, will someone today, on the Lord's Day, it's like an altar call, will someone today say that they'll be pledged to make a contribution, however small, however big, to this campaign today? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Need you. There's 3 ways you can do it. You can go online. We swipe cards here. You can write a check for Hamilton, Tennessee, or you can do cash. And all 3 of those will help me in these final days in our ads, our digital, our television, our grassroots campaign on the ground, our organizing, our mailers, and the rest. The second thing I'm asking for you, I need you to take those signs. We please.
You're only allowed to have 6 signs in the city of Fayetteville. I got 6.
Well, I appreciate that. me and the property manager, I think they're about to sue me. What is his name? There's some guy, Linus, who emails our campaign every day because we have too many signs. He's like, you have, and you know what? Put this on tape. The city of Fayetteville can sue me. Like, we will put as many signs out there as we want. And so we need you to take signs. There's 4 types of signs you can have. Those Hell Yes signs, they help me get Republicans. They really do. They help me get Republicans. They think it's funny. It's humor. It makes them know our name. Second sign, we have a few left, and we'll have more down here next week too. I support the legalization of marijuana. I want to be the most pro-weed congressman that the Lord ever made, because what it will do is help rural Tennessee. It'll help our schools. It'll help investment, and help our roads, our infrastructure, and the rest. So we have green Hell Yes signs with the marijuana leaf, and they are incredibly popular. Well, we will give them to you, and they really help me with conservative men under 40. Really? The average consumer of marijuana in Tennessee is conservative in rural areas and often men. And we can get off some Trump Hale voters by telling them Scott DesJarlais' record on weed and mine. And then the third sign, we have Republicans for Hale sign. So if you know Republicans who support me and you want them to know they support me, we got that. We had Trump for Hale signs. And we have libertarians for Hale signs. We have everything. Well, we will give them to you. these signs really do help. We are going. How many precincts do y'all have on election day? 4 or 5?
No, 8 or 9.
Okay. Well, my campaign knows that, and so at every precinct in this community, we will have hell yes signs, but we will also have specific signs to try to tailor people. They're going to learn my agenda walking into the voting booth. We've got to get these folks to peel off, especially Republicans at the voting site. But you can help educate them right now. We think you're going to have record turnout in Lincoln County, and from what we can tell, our data says it's going to be higher than about 30% higher than it's ever been. Can you imagine that? 30% higher than it's ever been. People are coming out of the woodworks to vote in this election. We just need to make sure they're voting for us. And so that's what I need from you. We're going to go on a walk now, but that's what I really need from you. And one final thing, I do have a question for you. We're doing community-specific signs in Bedford County. There's certain issues. In Murray County, certain issues. I'll give you an example. In Bledsoe County, they needed a $1.3 billion fire truck to bring in a new industry in the town. So Scott DesJarlais, which isn't anything, and I'm promising the people of Bledsoe County that I'll help them get their fire truck. What should go on my signs here? What is one local issue that should go on my signs here in Lincoln County?
Jobs.
People want jobs.
Keep the hospital.
Keep the hospital open, right? I mean, so you're
keep it open, fix it.
Well, it's interesting. So if I understand correctly, you can't give birth in Lincoln County, right? You got to go to Huntsville to have a child, to give birth to a child. Is that correct?
You can have, they have a
We have
obstetric.
obstetrics.
And so the hospital is locally funded. Is that correct? And so, but it's been operating very heavily on charity care because we haven't expanded Medicaid. Is that correct? So you think that's the one issue? So the hospital, jobs, what else?
No internet coverage.
Let's talk about internet for a second. So
Yeah, everybody has to go to the library if they want the internet. You think the library's full, but everybody's sitting in the parking lot working.
it's absurd. It's absurd. And you know what's interesting? Republicans need the internet too. Republicans need the internet too. This week, think about this for a second. This week, a bill that Congressman DesJarlais voted for is providing 4G to the moon. So Congressman DesJarlais got 4G to the moon, but can't get us access to good internet in Tennessee. That tells you everything.
And our kids are on virtual schooling without any access to do it.
Kids shouldn't have to go to McDonald's to do their homework. And so I think that's an absolutely crucial issue. I think that's the one that is particularly present for folks. You're right. Internet, jobs, healthcare, schools. These are issues that Congressman DesJarlais has failed us on again and again. And the final point I want to make for your Republican friends is this. Congressman DesJarlais was voted the worst lawmaker in America by the nation's leading Republican magazine. Think about that for a second. The Republicans don't like them.
Yeah.
There are 0 legislators in this state, 0 legislators in this state who have ever endorsed Congressman DesJarlais. Not one member of the United States Congress has ever endorsed Scott DesJarlais. Not one Republican in the United States Senate has ever endorsed Scott DesJarlais. Those who know him, his Republican friends, do not support him. I am Republican's best choice in this election. If they do not like me, in 2022, they can kick me to the curb. Can you imagine what the GOP primary will look like in 2022 around here? Everyone with a checking account and an R next to their name will be in that primary, so that they don't think I'm the guy after 2 years. I promise you they'll have plenty of choices in 2022. So, folks, I'm really honored to be here. I'm excited to be here. The energy all across Tennessee is great. In 9 days, through the means of a free and fair election, you'll be looking at your next Congress. So thank you for having me. Let's walk. There you go.